Hello and welcome back to the Getting Better at Pokemon series, where I try to get better at Pokemon. Now, this is the last episode for Regulation I. The World Championships is going to be this upcoming weekend, and although I am not competing in it, I thought it would be right to show what I would be using if I were competing, and show the progress that I've made with the team, and where I've got to now that the format is ending. So, looking at the team, you'll see that it is the standard 6, the Michael Derbest 6. And something that I've kind of realized over my course of playing Regulation I is really you have to pick and choose what matchups you want. And when you get rid of Landorus, it becomes harder to KO things like Zamazenta. It becomes harder to KO things like fire types in the sun, Terrafire Koraidon, Terrafire Groudon. There are a lot of things that you lose when you mess with this core 6, and I think there's some things you can do to the details, but for Calyrex Ice Miraidon balance, I think you really just want to be using these 6 Pokemon. There is room for innovation, but just at least in what I have found in my practice, there is no better matchup spread that you can get in Reg I. Now, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm sure there could be something better that I'm not thinking of, but I think these 6 are the best. And the techs that I've chosen to stick with are Discharge on Miraidon, like what we started with, Substitute on Landorus, and other than that, Terra Water Calyrex is the only other thing that has changed on the open sheet from Michael Derbest's 6 that he has been running. So that's the team. Let's get into the games. All right. First game here is going to be up against Florian. Interesting. Okay. It's a very standard looking team, but they have a Zacian where I would think there would be a Zamazenta. Incineroar, Urshigus, Shadow Rider, Zacian. Okay. There's no real speed control. Just going to try and fake me out and set up and sweep that way. So immediately doing some counting, I think. Terra Water Calyrex is pretty strong. The only thing they have to beat it is Rillaboom, and I have Glacial Lance, and I can change the terrain with Miraidon. Miraidon should also have the speed advantage in this game, so I'm definitely bringing both of my restricteds. Maybe not leading Miraidon because they have Rillaboom, but definitely bringing it. I really love an Incin lead. Like, Cali Incin is great into everything except for Urshifu, but I just don't know if they are going to lead with Urshifu or try and use it as a revenge killer. The Miraidon is definitely going to be very threatening for them. They could still bring it for sure. Urshifu's okay, Landorus is okay. I think what I'm going to go with is Cali Incin, Amoonguss, and Miraidon. I'm bringing both of my answers to Urshifu because it's the biggest thing that threatens my Calyrex. And they are going to lead with Calyrex and Amoonguss. Okay. So already we are favored in this board state because Incineroar is positive into both of their Pokemon. Matchup-wise. Some things we need to consider: potential switch-ins, because I think it's likely that they switch one of their Pokemon to get a better matchup into Incineroar. They also don't necessarily know if I'm Assault Vest or Safety Goggles, so that's a consideration they have to make. They might feel inclined to protect and switch out Amoonguss. We definitely have the pressure, so the question is just how to capitalize on it, because they have multiple switch-ins. What I'm thinking of going for here, I just don't want them to get like a free Protect Spore. I think I'm going to go for a Terra Water Glacial Lance. And then you turn off the Amoonguss to get into Miraidon, because that'll give me speed advantage next turn. It covers for a lot of plays they could go for. They could just double protect, but they might not have it on Amoonguss. So we'll see what happens here. No Terra from them unless they're Terraing Amoonguss, which they are not. Okay, so we are just going to get a free U-turn plus Glacial into that slot as they plot. Okay. So I'm thinking their plan was to sacrifice a Mungus to get into Rillaboom. And I played right into their bait by going for Terra Water turn 1. So, let's assume Rillaboom is in the back, because that's the worst case scenario, and everything else we'll have an option for. If it's Rillaboom in the back and I go into Miraidon, they have Fake Out Astral Barrage. If I go into a Moongus, then I can switch back into Incineroar and protect Calyrex and then get Fake Out Pressure. They could read that by going for another Nasty Plot, but I think that gives me the most options going forward. So thinking about what my opponent's board is going to look like on the next turn, I think a Moongus is the proper switch in here. Because if I go into Miraidon, yes, I could just Electro Drift them the next turn, but then they're just gonna Fake Out an Astral Barrage, but they go Zacian. Interesting. So now, I think I can just go for Rage Powder and Glacial Lance. The only way I lose is if Astral Barrage KOs Ice Rider. But I don't think that it will. Unless they crit. They can't be Specs because they use Nasty Plot. I don't really see a huge issue with Rage Powder and Glacial Lance here. Actually, I do. That's not true. I'm going to Protect and switch to Incineroar because something I thought of was, what if they go for Astral Barrage, it KOs a Moongus, Ice Rider hangs on with low HP, and then Zacian cleans me up because Zacian is slower. That was something I thought of. But if I do it this way, now I can stop Zacian from moving, so I should be able to live, and if they read this and KO Incineroar, I will have a free switch into Miraidon, which will outspeed both of them the following turn. So I think this is the correct approach. They are Life Orb. Right, and they close combat there. Okay. So here I want to go for Fake Out onto Zacian and Trick Room because it covers for them going for Protect. Like, I could just Fake Out Glacial Lance, but they could double Protect. So here I want to Trick Room and Fake Out. They don't really have a switch in to punish this. If they switch into Rillaboom, I can Protect, and then switch to Miraidon on the next turn so that they can't Grassy Glide me. But even then it shouldn't KO because Ice Rider is bulky. So yeah, we're just going to go for Fake Out and Trick Room. Okay, let's see if we live. We don't. So, that is very rare. That is very rare. Unless I have the wrong EV spread on Calyrex, that should only be a 12 to 6% chance or so. Yeah, that will just lose us the game on the spot. Unless they brought Urshifu as their last. So let's think. So let's assume we do still have a chance to win, and it is Urshifu as their last and not Rillaboom. Do I have to call Calyrex Protecting? That's the question. Because I could go for Rage Powder and Electro Drift onto Zacian, calling Calyrex Protect. Yeah, because there's not a world I win if I target into Calyrex's Protect. So I'm gonna go for Rage Powder and Electro Drift the Zacian. If they just raw Astral Barrage, fair play. Okay, and they do. GG. So I'm trying to think if there were any problems with how I played that game. but I think it really just came down to Calyrex not surviving that Astral Barrage, so I'm definitely going to look up that calc afterwards to see how much it does, because we definitely should have lived, unless they're max special attack, and then it's a roll. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and check that, but I mean, that's Calyrex Shadow, and honestly, that's why I think Reg I, or just, I guess, restricted formats in general, since this Pokemon is released, are very bad and unhealthy, because it makes the format a lot more luck-based. Your opponent only needs to get a couple turns right. All they needed was to get that nasty plot up, and then the game was effectively over at that point. There wasn't really any room for me to outplay them once that happened, and I don't really like that. I like the more kind of marginal, grindy games where you have to outplay your opponent over a long period of time. So yeah, Shadow Riders feels very toxic, and there wasn't really a lot I could do there. I'll have to think about it more, but before the next game, I'm going to go use some editing magic to go and check the calc. Yeah, so if they are max special attack, literally 252 with Life Orb, Astral Barrage has a 25% chance to OHKO Calyrex. So we put ourselves in a position where we had a 75% chance to win the game. Maybe you could change your Calyrex EV spread so that they only win if they get a crit, but I mean, 75%, I don't feel too bad about taking those odds. Unfortunately, that does mean we are going to start off with a loss. Played a game against someone who was using a Reg G team, and I didn't feel like including it in the video, so you guys have only seen one game, even though I have played two. I have not played on in-game ladder at all yet this month, because I've been very excited about Regulation H, but I wanted to give you guys a Reg I send-off, so that is why I don't have any games played on in-game ladder, and that is why there are 2 games played, even though one has only been shown in the video so far. So, getting into this next game. They are going to have Urshifu, Chenpao, Landorus, Ice Rider, Incineroar, and Miraidon. So a very similar team to what we're playing, except that they have removed the Amoonguss for Chenpao, which definitely makes the team hyper-offense as opposed to balance, because they don't really have a defensive engine. Instead, they have opted for an offensive engine, trying to remove their opponent's Pokemon before they get hit. That is what Chenpao is really good at accomplishing. So, mirror with no Amoonguss, so it will really just be kind of a straight up mirror, because Amoonguss doesn't really come to the mirror. Chenpao could come to the mirror though, so we might feel Chenpao, because it has a really good matchup into Miraidon and Calyrex, so I definitely need to bring Chenpao hate because of their good matchup into us. So, our best Chenpao matchups are Urshifu and Incineroar, because they can take it on 1v1, and Miraidon also outspeeds it, but we have to worry about Sucker Punch, or Trick Room going up. So, yeah, I don't think Landorus is amazing, so I think I'm just going to go with the top 4. I think for a lead, we go with Miraidon, because it's our fastest, and Incineroar, because it gives us... Sorry, I don't have time to explain, I ran out of time. Basically, I just want to make sure that Chenpao stays controlled, that I have a switch into ice moves in the back, and that I have pressure on the lead. They have Miraidon, so worst case scenario, they also have Scarf, and it's a speed tie. But they're going to go with Incineroar and Chenpao. Okay, so it'll be important to see whose Incineroar is faster. That is going to be the first determinant of how we analyze this board and see who has the pressure. So we see that they're not Scarf Chenpao, because Hadron Engine goes before Sword of Ruin, so we know that Miraidon is faster, and our Incineroar is faster, which is a big deal. So right off the bat, I have Fake Out pressure, so I can Fake Out their Incineroar and get an attack off with Miraidon. I kind of want to get into Urshifu, if possible, because Urshifu is very good into this board of Chenpao and Incineroar. I could go for Fake Out into Incineroar and Volt Switch into Chenpao. I could go for Fake Out into Incineroar and Volt Switch into Incineroar. I think the big thing is Chenpao could Protect, and I don't really want to just Volt Switch into a Protect. I could break Sash, but I think Urshifu can get there anyways. The thing is, even if they Protect, I can just Volt Switch off of them again the next turn. So I'm going to go for Fake Out into Incineroar and Volt Switch into Chenpao. Because in order to KO Chenpao around their Sash, with Urshifu, I would need to use Terra, and this makes it to where now I can save my Terra because Urshifu can just KO them with a regular attack. I could also consider going into Ice Rider here, but that's not entirely safe because they could just hit me with a Dark move and hit me with a Dark move on the next turn as well. So I'm going to go into Urshifu here because it can take any attack that they're going to go for. It's going to end up being Icicle Crash. I don't care too much about losing my Sash because I want to use Urshifu to trade into this board, which is going to take multiple hits to KO me anyways, so the Sash isn't really relevant. It's only relevant against Miraidon, but I still have my own Miraidon and Calyrex to deal with that in the back. So I can feel Chen Pao maybe wanting to switch out into Miraidon. I could just go for Aqua Jet, but I can see them wanting to save it for later. I'm not really threatened by it, though, is the thing. So because I'm not threatened by it, I'm going to go for Surging Strikes into their Urshifu and go for U-turn into Chen Pao. Yeah, they're going to go for Sacred Sword to get some damage off. And we're going to end up trading here, which is going to be a very good trade for me, in my opinion. Question is, what do we want to go into off of this U-turn? I think it's going to be Miraidon. So, they probably have Ice Rider and Miraidon in the back. Our own Ice Rider is pretty good into that board. I think I just want to go with Miraidon first. Not necessarily because it's, like, amazing into both of them. But more so because I want to get the most value out of my Pokemon, and if I sequence it Calyrex and then Miraidon, and they set up Trick Room with their Calyrex, then my Miraidon is basically useless. It's like it didn't come to the battle. But in order to get value out of it, I'm going to go into it first here. So I think the sequencing of which restricted we go into here matters. Ooh, they dropped a restricted. Landorus is first out, and Calyrex. Interesting. Very interesting. So who do I want to Terra? I think a big question is the speed interaction between Urshifu and Landorus, because most Landorus in this format are going bulky. But obviously they could be faster because they have a higher base speed. The thing is, I think Ensign Callie in the back should be able to out-trade their Ice Riders, so I really just want to focus on getting rid of Landorus here. But at the same time, I think you could make a justification for targeting either one. I'm gonna go for Close Combat and Terra Electric Electro Drift into Ice Rider. I think you could make an argument for targeting either one. I'm not really sure which one is more optimal here. Okay, Electro Drift is gonna do big damage to Calyrex. They are faster on Landorus, but because we targeted the Calyrex, we will be able to KO it. Incineroar will be able to come in, we'll get Fake Out plus Surging Strikes, and the game should end there. It would have been interesting if they would have had Miraidon. I mean, Landorus makes some sense. It's good into Incineroar, it's good into Miraidon. If they're timid, like it appears that they are, you outspeed Urshifu, so that's good. But we didn't even have to reveal Ice Rider here. So, yeah, they went with Chen Pao because they thought it gave them a positive matchup, and in a vacuum it did, but I was able to just get a really early advantage because I really heavily indexed on them bringing Chen Pao. I don't want to say I knew they were going to go with Chen Pao, but it just makes sense because it was so positive matchup-wise into my team on paper, right? It's positive into Ice Rider, it's positive into Miraidon, it's positive into Amoonguss, it's positive into my Landorus. So they really just wanted to bring that, but because I'm Scarf on Miraidon, because I led with Incineroar, and because my Incineroar was faster than their Incineroar, that was what was able to get us an advantage very early and allow us to snowball the game from there. So we're going to pick up a dub in this one, and that was fun. That was fun. I enjoyed that. I enjoy Regulation I when I'm not playing against Calyrex Shadow Rider. When I play against Shadow Rider, I'm not gonna lie guys, it feels like it really just comes down to luck. Because they're always gonna hit me first, right? And so it feels like, okay, either I get crit or they get the high roll and I lose, or they don't and I win, and I just don't really like that. Even in situations where you don't have a clear way to outplay them, there's always the 50-50 of Nasty Plot, Protect, Nasty Plot, Astral Barrage. They could go for Wide Guard or just attack with Zanazenta. They could go for Fake Out, Follow Me Spore, or Decorate with Smeargle. There's just so much volatility, and each option creates such a different result, and each of those results are very scary. Like, if they go Calyrex Shadow Smeargle and they Spore you and you weren't ready for it, the game's just kind of over because you have to take a turn going to sleep, and that turn is enough for Calyrex Shadow Rider to snowball. And once Calyrex Shadow Rider snowballs, there's no counterplay for it, as long as they can protect it, right? So I think the format's bad, but I have been enjoying playing it whenever I don't get into a game with Calyrex Shadow Rider on the other side, so a lot to learn from the games that we've been getting despite the level of format, and that's something I want to highlight as well. You know, Pokemon, at the end of the day, it's the same game no matter what format you're playing, and you can still take lessons from it, and there's a lot that goes into the game that is consistent between formats. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying this, even though Reg I is coming to a close. This is a weird team. This is what you get from being, from not being Master Ball a week and a half into the month. Let's see. Well, double Sunsetters. This looks like an Ice Rider matchup. I think Terra Water Ice Rider goes pretty crazy here. And it's going to be a matchup where I want to get up Trick Room. The only thing that could underspeed me in Trick Room is Ursaluna Blood Moon, but based on how their team is constructed, I think it's going to be a fast Blood Moon. Unless it is just like their dedicated hard Trick Room answer, but then if you were doing that, why would you not use the slower bear? I guess they could have Trick Room on Flutter Mane. It is best of one ladder, so I shouldn't, you know, be too hasty in assuming what my opponent has. But I'm gonna go with Calyrex and Incin. Fake out Trick Room seems pretty safe. I'm gonna bring Amoonguss and Landorus in the back. This is my general Sun game plan, reason being you can use your ice damage to force them to Fire Terra, and then Landorus, kind of like I was saying in the team part of the video, in the intro, Landorus is really good at hitting the fire types in Sun, so pretty straightforward game plan here. When you're a jet all the way. Ogerpon, Flutter Mane, okay. Biggest consideration here is Flutter Mane could have Taunt. So a play I'm thinking about turn 1 is Fake out onto Ogerpon and Glacial Lance to scout for Taunt. If they taunt me, I can switch out into Amoonguss and try to reposition for a Trick Room later. Also, Fire Ogerpon is very annoying. I want to Terra Water here. I know I'm going to Terra Calyrex eventually anyways. I could save it to try and keep the mind game, because like I'm always going to fake out Ogerpon here. I could like protect, U-turn the Flutter, try and get into Amoonguss, but I don't think that's super good. They also don't really have any Glacial Lance resist, so it's not like there's a Terra or a switch-in that I'm worried about because of this. Wow, Flutter Mane's gonna Terra Steel. Okay, so that probably means they're not Focus Sash and they're a bulky Flutter Mane of some sort. Interesting. That probably means that they do have taunt. So, we'll see what they go for here. Okay, just a spiky shield. That makes sense. Is it taunt? Terra Blast. Okay, now I'm even more confused. That did so much! Is that a crit? Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe they are sashed with Terra Steel for some reason. If that did that much, jeez, they have no bulk on that thing. Sometimes I forget just how strong Glacial Lance is. Okay, well, Grass move into Calyrex is very obvious. I'm thinking a way I can get around that is by going for Protect, U-turn, and then bringing Incineroar back out. And then the only way I lose is if I get crit at that point. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, they go for Moonblast. Not targeting Ice Rider, that's smart. Oh, and it's just Horn Leech. Okay, so the fact that it's not Wood Hammer makes me feel a lot safer. What I can do now is pivot back into Incineroar, get an Intimidate down, and then set up Trick Room. Which one should I show them? Amoonguss or Landorus? I want to show them Amoonguss. It also puts on more pressure, because now I'm pressuring Spore onto Fluttermane, and they kind of have to go for Follow Me. I mean, they don't have to. But they could also, like, consider targeting Amoonguss. I'm just going to go for the play that I was talking about. The fact that they went for Terra Blast and Moonblast makes me think that they don't have Taunt, so I feel pretty safe going for Trick Room here. They've basically revealed Ogerpon's whole moveset because you gotta be running Ivy, Cudgel, and Follow Me, so no taunt there, most likely. I think this play should be pretty safe. Wow, a third attack. This is a crazy Fluttermane set. Okay, no crit. And so on this next turn, I don't really see how they're stopping Glacial Lance plus Flare Blitz. They can double protect, but then I can just do it again on the next turn. They don't have any ice resists. Terra Steel Fluttermane does not count as an ice resist, as we saw by the amount of damage that Glacial Lance did, so yeah, I mean, they could just double protect. I'm thinking if I care about the Flare Blitz Spiky Shield chip on Incineroar, question you have to be asking, is there any better board I could get into on the next turn? Honestly, the fact that they've already blown their Terra means they can't Terra their Ice Weak restricted, so honestly, I don't see any reason to do anything other than Glacial Lance and Flare Blitz here. So I'm just not going to overthink it. Spiky Shield Protect. Maybe could have considered like switching in Amoonguss to side Pollen Puff on the following turn, but then I wouldn't have KO pressure on the Ogerpon, and the longer this thing lives, the worse it is for me, because it can hit my Ice Rider for weakness, so if they ever get a crit with Horn Leech, I will lose. So I just need to continue making sure that does not happen. The only way I lose is if Horn Leech crit KOs Calyrex. I still have 3 turns of Trick Room. There's not really a lot to explain here, guys. I got Trick Room up, it's time to just attack. Okay, Ogerpon is going to switch out. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Groudon is not going to love taking this Glacial Lance. I wonder what proto they were. Speed still, okay. I respect this play because they're giving themselves an out for double Spiky Shield on Ogre Pawn into Horn Leech crit Calyrex. I could lose the game that way. The teaching moment here is, you know, always ask yourself ways your opponent could get back into the game, even if it's some 0.01% chance. And if you are the person in a losing position like this, think about what out you could get to. Double protects, crits, your opponent missing, anything like that. Because the game is not over until the end screen is showing. Okay. So here's an interesting scenario. I could cover for them going for that insane out, but it could also lose me the game. Here's what I was thinking. I could go for Glacial Lance and switch into a Moongus so that the next turn I could Pollen Puff in Glacial Lance. So that way, if they do get the double protect, I'll have enough HP to set up another Trick Room. Alternatively, they could just YOLO and target me this turn, and then I could lose the game. But I think I'm gonna play around the out. It's always scary when you do stuff like this, because like if they just attack, I could win the game on the spot with Glacial Lance Flare Blitz. Yeah, so interesting. But Glacial Lance does just KO because Ice Rider is the GOAT. And that's another thing I was thinking about too, hedging my bets with this play was, well, even if they don't protect +1 Glacial Lance, if it doesn't KO, it'll come close to KOing. I think it's interesting, that endgame scenario there. Whether you should just stay in Flare Blitz with Incineroar, or whether you should hedge your bets towards them playing towards like the 1% out. Yeah, I mean, Pokemon's a really complicated game. There's a lot that could have happened there, even though the game was over. You know, it wasn't. Like I said, it's never over until you see the ending screen. So, some interesting things to consider there. Alright. It is the healthiest restricted duo in the format, Calyrex Shido and Zamazenta. With Chenpao D-Knight, Rillaboom, and there's an Ape just chilling. My opponent doesn't realize that Reg H doesn't start for another 3 weeks, so Annihilape is making an appearance. So I think this is one of the worst matchups for the team, is Pao Knight, because we really don't have a way to stop E-Speed. I don't think I've ever beaten Chenpao D-Knight with this archetype, because, I mean, how do you stop them from trading positive with you? It just seems really difficult. Generally, what I try to go with is Urshifu and Moongus, because Urshifu is able to pressure Chenpao. If they Terra Normal D-Knight, it can pressure D-Knight, and Amoonguss is able to redirect attacks that aren't E-Speed. You could also go Incin Urshifu to try intimidating the Chenpao, giving you Fake Out pressure. They can't Terra Normal D-Knight and Terra Ghost Chenpao. It's not like the team doesn't have tools, it's not like you're completely dead in the water, I just feel like I am terrible at deploying those tools. So we'll see how this goes. I brought a Moongus Miraidon in the back because they're pretty good at trading down with Calyrex Shadow and Zamazenta once you get the positioning right. And they're going to go with Rillaboom and Chenpao. Okay. So Incineroar's in an amazing spot here. So they have Fake Out pressure. I think Chenpao's switching out. I think that would make a lot of sense. I would like to switch Urshifu into a Moongus to eat a Fake Out, to eat a Glide, to save Urshifu for Chen Pao in the late game because I think Chen Pao is switching out here. Yeah, a lot of reasons to switch out. I think Zamazenta could come into that slot as well, so I think having a Moongus on the field is important. And then I'm just going to U-turn the Rillaboom to keep positioning. I could just go for something like a Flare Blitz, but they're not gonna let me. Okay, they let me Flare Blitz. So I could have just gotten rid of, wow, and they crash, okay. Yeah, so Protect Flare Blitz didn't win the game on the spot, but put me in a very good position. I played for them to play positionally, and they just went, haha, attack what's in front of me, so, you know, what are you gonna do? I am a master of overthinking everything, so not surprised that I overthought this one, and they just attacked what was in front of them. That's VGC. So what do we do here? They revealed that they're Life Orb on Chen Pao. Miraidon could come in. I'm thinking I value getting a Moongus back out. I want to go Miraidon. I want to go Miraidon because it pressures Chen Pao and it turns off priority from Rillaboom. And then what I want to do is I want to switch a Moongus into Incineroar and Volt Switch off of the Chen Pao. The reason we're doing this is because it'll get Regenerator on Amoonguss so that it can take an extra attack from Zamazenta in the endgame. Yeah, Rillaboom's gonna switch out. They're probably protecting and switching. I just wanted to lock into Volt Switch on the protect. Could have drifted that slot. That would have won the game on the spot because it would have eliminated Shadow Rider. But this also works. It doesn't lose me the game. It gets Assault Vest and Incineroar across from their Shadow Rider. It gets Chen Pao to -2 if it does decide to stay in. Which, I know it did because Amoonguss switched out. Oh my goodness. Ice Shard. Wow, my opponent is playing so aggressive. Just attacking whatever's in front of them. Which, I mean, I'll take. I will certainly take. Now I just get Fake Out plus an attack with Urshifu. Which is one of the strongest combinations in VGC history, Fake Out plus Unseen Fist. So, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put that on the board here. And say, alright opponent, how do you want to deal with this? You pretty much have to go Rillaboom, so here comes Rillaboom. You are kind of screwed here? I mean, they have to, like, what, Fake Out Urshifu defensive Terra Calyrex? They're gonna be Focus Sashed because they were Life Orb on Chen Pao. So I'm thinking U-turn and Detect. They switch out. They did bring Zam. Okay. What are they, just U-turning? Oh, they would hammer. Dude, my opponent... I think this is the thing with this is gonna sound really pretentious, because it's gonna sound like I'm speaking like I'm a better player, but I don't feel that way. I actually don't think I'm very good at Pokemon, but I've noticed low-level players do this, where they just kind of attack whatever's in front of them. Like my opponent is here. Either way, I'll take it. It makes the game a lot easier for me to play, because I'm able to just make safe plays like this. And now is when we start stepping on the gas. Now we have great position, we caught the Rillaboom out, we have terrain control. Here is where we click our buttons. I'm going to Terra Electric, Electrodrift Zanazenta, and go for Surging Strikes onto Rillaboom. This puts our opponent in a very difficult position where they're going to have to give up material. Because they can't cover for all these attacks. Okay, that just KOs. Wow, that means they have very little bulk on Zam, or I just got a very big high roll. Surging is going to come out here, and now we just have Electrodrift plus Aqua Jet onto Caloric Shadow to close out the game. Yeah, my opponent did not make it very difficult for me in this one, and to be frank, none of the ones have in this episode. Maybe it's because all the people prepping for Worlds are staying off in-game ladder, or they're already in Master Ball tier at this point. Yeah, I mean, my job just feels easier today. Which, I mean, I'll take. Hopefully you guys are still learning stuff from this. Trying to be as informational and educational as possible, but yeah, my opponents just kind of keep putting me in good positions, so I feel like these games have been pretty straightforward so far. They go ahead and cancel, and we're going to rack up another dub. Alright, let's get one more. One more for the video. This will probably be the longest one I've made so far because this will be my 5th game that I am including. And if I win, I get Master Ball. If I lose, whatever, that's the video. Life doesn't always have a Hollywood ending. Oh my goodness, and we got a spicy team here. They said, I also like Bolt Beam, except I only go 1 speed, and that is fast. Iron Bundle, Miraidon, Whimsicott, Landorus, Alolan Ninetales, and Kyurem White. They have Bundle and Whimsicott. They said, listen, I am outspeeding you one way or another. Except they forgot about something very important, and that is the move Trick Room. So we are going to attempt to punish them with that. Only thing that we need to worry about is their Whimsicott going for Encore, or like having the move Trick Room to reverse our Trick Room. But as long as we play around that, we should win as soon as Trick Room goes up. So I'm gonna go ahead and lead with Incineroar. They don't have Farigiraf, so blocking Fake Out seems kind of difficult for them. And I'm just going to go with my good attackers in the back. I think this game is just going to be about getting up Trick Room and then sweeping as fast as possible once Trick Room goes up. I could go with a Moongus, but it's kind of getting slaughtered here by... They have 3 Pokemon who learn Blizzard, so yeah, I'm only going to bring one of my ice weaknesses to this one, guys. Miraidon is terrible here, into everything except for their Miraidon, which is going to be outspeeding me because of their speed control. And if I set up Trick Room, I mean, I have Choice Scarf, so feels like these 4 are kind of a no-brainer. Alright, and they are going to go ahead and go with Whimsicott and Landorus. So it's actually not so simple. I kind of talked too much trash at the start because we're in a situation where I could just Glacial Lance here, but then I'm going to be exposed the next turn, and then I can't set up Trick Room. Alternatively, let's see. Alternatively, I could just Trick Room now, but then they have Encore pressure and I have to switch out, and that's awkward. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take kind of an unintuitive line. I'm going to Terra Bug, not for the U-turn damage, but just so I don't die to Landorus. I'm going to go for Glacial Lance plus U-turn to try and remove Whimsicott. And the reason I'm doing it like this is because I need to remove Whimsicott, and then I need to set up Trick Room. So what I'm doing is I'm going for Glacial Lance plus U-turn, and then the next turn, they're going to bring in an attacker, and they're going to try and double Calyrex, or they're going to have the pressure that lets them double Calyrex. What I'm going to do to get around that and still get Trick Room up is I'm going to protect Calyrex and then switch Incineroar back end so that I get a Fake Out plus Trick Room. They very intelligently protect Whimsicott here. That is a fantastic play. And nasty plot. Oh my. That's what you get. That's what you get for talking trash. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the universe has a funny way of humbling you where as soon as you start to think that you're better, as soon as you start to talk down to other people, the universe just comes out and says, oh yeah, you think you're so sick? Well, how about this? And now we're in a terrible spot because they have +2 Landorus, and yeah, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose this game most likely if I don't get Trick Room up here. Okay. I'm gonna Trick Room and U-turn Whimsicott. Now I actually have to kind of... Oh my gosh, and they have Taunt, not Encore. Yeah, that's... I mean, that's gonna go ahead and end the game on the spot. Because this is gonna do, what, like 80%? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. That is too funny. So they have Protect and Taunt on Whimsicott. And I mean, that's just closed team sheet best of 1. I mean, I could have played around these things if I would have seen. I mean, I could have gone for Fake Out plus Trick Room on turn 1 if I would have seen that this was the set that they had, and then I would have won the game. But closed team sheet, baby. If you don't want competitive Pokemon, play closed team sheet best of 1. Let's see. Is there anything I can do, or is the game literally just like over? Because I don't have anything that's gonna like outspeed them now. They can just Earth Power and trade, and I'm gonna lose. I can't protect. I can switch to Landorus to get out of an Earth Power this turn. I'm gonna switch to Landorus and close combat their Landorus, trying to bait. But what they should do is just Moonblast the Ice Rider and then Earth Power my Urshifu. They go for Tailwind. Interesting. Interesting, so they covered for the Landorus switching on Ice Rider. That's pretty smart. How bulky is this Landorus? That did nothing. Oh my gosh. That was one of the ugliest games I've ever played. I'm gonna Sludge Bomb. Low-key, I could Earth Power, but I think they're just gonna sack Whimsicott here. I'm gonna go for Aqua Jet. I'm just gonna attack what's... I'm gonna be the bad player that I've been making fun of all episode. I'm just gonna attack what's in front of me, and we'll see what happens. I'm so far behind that I kind of need my opponent to make a mistake. Generally, when people are in this position, they want to just trade down and get into the end game as well, so that's another reason why I'm attacking what's in front of me, but they're actually going to preserve Whimsicott. Another great play. Do they switch out a Landorus too and a Miraidon? Okay, no, they do just give me Landorus. Okay. Maybe I can still find my way back into it. It's gonna be hard because they have Tailwind up now, and they just have, like, Freeze Dry. They have Bolt Beam. They're doing to me what I do to other people. Just with Kyurem instead of Ice Rider. I'm getting a taste of my own Bolt Beam medicine. Because the thing is, Ice Rider's just too low. Like, even if I get into, like, a Fake Out plus attack with Ice Rider angle, like... I don't see how I'm ever making it out of this. I can't even Terra Steel. I can't even Terra Steel to get out of my ice weakness. If I still had Terra, I could win the game. Not like Tailwind matters. They're gonna be outspeeding me anyways. Maybe they're really slow Kyurem, and that's the win con I play towards. I might be able to get... Interesting, they just dazzle. Are they choiced? Because if they are, that could let me back in the game. Fusion Flare. Wow. Okay, so my opponent is playing in a way where they're trying to hard call what I'm doing literally every turn. These games are fun, but they're also very volatile. Now they should just target Landorus, so I'm gonna sacrifice Ice Strider and try and get into a place where I can fake out plus attack with Landorus, is what I'm going for right now. I'm gonna Aqua Jet Kyurem instead of Miraidon, because I know Miraidon will always drop to an Earth Power, but I need every bit of chip I can on Kyurem. How much does this do? Solid 3%. They just Gleam again. That makes me think they have to be choiced. Fusion Flare. Why not just lock into, like, Freeze Dry? Maybe they don't have it. Alright, if they had Draco this whole time, fair play to them, but I really just need to get rid of... I need to get rid of Kyurem. I could fake out Miraidon, but Kyurem could be faster than me. In fact, they probably are faster than me. They just stay in. Volt Switch. Okay. So they're not choiced. Hello, Whimsicott. Does nothing. Oh my goodness. What's the out here? They click Tailwind Ice move into Ensign? I just don't understand why they chose Fusion Flare, unless it was a move they had to lock into. I think they're choiced. And I'm gonna play towards the Draco Miss end con. We'll see. Yeah, so the Terra turn 1 really came back to bite me there. So they're what? Tailwind, Taunt, Protect, and then either Moonblast or Endeavor on Whimsicott, right? Can I Protect and get rid of Electric Terrain? I can. Okay, well... I really don't think Encore is their last move. So I'm just going to protect here. Taunt is really weird to go for there. Dazzle. Do they not have Draco? They gotta be like AV, right? This is a very interesting game. Protect! Taunt? Why not a damaging move? What's happening? Am I just winning? What is their moveset Drift, Volt Switch, Dazzle, Protect? I'm so confused. I'm just gonna keep clicking Earth Power into Miraidon. They protect Whimsicott. What is happening? What is their moveset? What is their team? Oh my gosh, that does so much! They crit! Okay. Did I win? Tailwind peters out. Sludge Bomb. What am I? What am I getting Moonblast crit here? What's happening? They cancel the battle. Do they not have an attacking move? What the?